According to many internet polls, most guitar players prefer a 9.5-inch radius fretboard, and they base that on specs. The specs are listed online. But does this guitar really have a 9.5-inch radius fretboard? Well, we have this nifty little tool, so let's measure it and let's find out. Hey kids, there's an old Chinese proverb that says, a fretboard guards its secrets in plain view of spec sheet experts. Well, that means that those who rely solely on spec sheets might miss a few details here and there. So, welcome back to Guitar Quackery, and now let me show you what I mean. The guitar on the workbench is a Fender American Professional tool. So, we'll look at the guitar, we will verify that it is in fact a Fender American Professional tool, and then we'll look at the radius and we'll talk about how the radius affects the action. As you can see, the serial number starts with US, so it's a US-made Fender, and here it says Fender American Professional 2. So this is in fact a genuine Fender guitar, and it is spec'd at a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. So first let's talk about how the radius might affect the setup on a guitar. The preferred radius on a Fender Strat is a 9.5-inch radius. There's another radius that's fairly common, 7.25-inch, but the 9.5-inch is more common. I actually have a Fender with a 12-inch radius, but let's just talk about these two. Now, the smaller radius means that this is more curved, so you have more of a hump here in the middle than on this one, so this is a straighter curve. Now, smaller radius prevents you to have a really low action if you want to bend the strings, because when you bend strings, the string cuts in a straight line diagonally across this hump, and if the action is too low, the string might fret out against the adjacent fret. In that case, you need to raise the action to avoid fretting out. So now we're going to check the radius of this fretboard using the radius gauges. Why don't we do that? I'll show you how that's done. I'm going to take the 9.5-inch radius gauge first and place it under the strings and put it here first. So first I'm going to take a measurement of the fingerboard radius, not the fret radius. So it's seated properly, and with a feeler gauge I can check if there are any gaps. So there's no gap here, no gap here, and no gap in the middle. So we just confirmed that the fingerboard radius is in fact 9.5-inch, as it says right here. Now let's place this radius gauge on top of the fret, and let's test it. So here we have a little gap, and here we have a little gap, and of course we don't have a gap in the middle. So we can see that this fret is not matching a 9.5-inch radius. Now, let's take the other radius gauge, the 7.25-inch radius gauge, and perform the same test on the same fret. So here we have the 7.5-inch radius gauge. We place it here. And now you can see that we have a gap in the middle, but we don't have gaps on the sides. And if we place this over the fret, we have a gap in the middle, but we don't have any gaps on the sides. So the fret is not matching a 7.25-inch radius, but as we've seen before, it's also not matching a 9.5-inch radius, which means it's somewhere between the two. Now, these radius gauges come in standard increments, and there is no available radius gauge between the two, so I can't measure the exact radius using this method. So now, what does this mean? Well, it means that the frets are slightly over-radiused, and we can see this if we look through the microscope. I'm just going to zoom in on any one of the frets and use the feeler gauge right here. So now we're looking at one of the frets, and let's spread the strings, and you can see that there's a gap here. There's a gap here as well, but no gap on the side. And on the other side, also no gap. So clearly, this fret is slightly over-radiused, so it's not seated on the fingerboard. So although the fingerboard does have a 9.5-inch radius, the frets don't. So when players think that they are playing a 9.5-inch radius fretboard, they're actually playing a fretboard with a different radius. Now, how does that affect the setup? Well, we're about to see. Here, I'll put the guitar in playing position, like this. And I set up this action to 61 thousandths of an inch measured on the 12th fret after I set up the relief, and obviously after I worked on the nut. So let's play this. So now it frets out. Now let's take this and raise the action a little bit. Play the same fret. It's still fretting out. So we need to raise it a little bit more. This is becoming acceptable, but I think it needs to go up just a touch more. I still hear a little bit of a hiss when I bend all the way, but at least it's acceptable. I think it needs to go up just a little bit more. Okay, let's see what we got. So now I have more like 72 1/1000ths of an inch. So the action, I wanted the action to be 61 thousandths of an inch, but I have to set it up to 72 1/1000ths of an inch. So with over radius frets, we might not be able to set it up as low as we might want to. So that's the 9.5-inch radius fretboard. That's what the spec sheet says. It's not necessarily what you get, but the spec sheet says 9.5-inch. Now I showed you how it affects the setup. And, well, you know, to be honest, I don't mind if, you know, you buy guitars with over radius frets, because when you bring them to the shop, I'll show you, and then I'll recommend services. I mean, obviously, going to have to pay for the additional services, but, you know, that's just more money into the business, and more money into the business is good for business. Now, speaking of money, if you feel that this type of content is saving you money because I am explaining and exposing things, feel free to throw some of those savings back my way. there's a button that's clickable. It's the Super Thanks button. And there's also a link that's also clickable. It's a link that says, buy me a coffee. And where's my coffee? Hey, see, I ran out of coffee. But I need coffee to edit these videos. So if you want to, help the production of the Guitar Quackery videos, you can keep clicking those links. And that'll help. Thank you. Now, you don't have to do that. I'll still edit videos, obviously. Just maybe not as often. But, I'll keep going. Now, what is the solution for over-radius frets? There are quite a few solutions. Let me take you back to the shop, and I'll show you. Technically speaking, the best solution would be to refret the guitar. So you pull out the old frets, clean out the fret slots, prep new fret wire at the correct radius, only a hair over radius, and then install new fret wire and finish the job. Some people might attempt to reseat the frets. So reseating the frets is really a misnomer because the frets were never seated properly to begin with. But I don't recommend that because you don't know if the frets were glued in. If they were, it means that you have a bunch of dried up glue inside of the fret slots, so you cannot push the frets any deeper because it's dried up glue there. And even if there isn't any glue inside of the fret slots, those over-radius frets are likely to spring back up. So that's really not a solution. So the most budget-friendly solution is to do a level crown and polish with radius correction. So in that case, you would need to use this tool. This is a 9.5-inch radius leveling beam. So it's a true 9.5-inch radius. And with this tool, you can correct the radius of the frets. So obviously you would remove the strings and you would use this radius beam to level off the frets at a 9.5-inch radius. But if you do it on the workbench like this, you're not likely to get the best results. So you would actually have to do this on a neck jig, which I have outside right here. So this is the neck jig, and the guitar that I have on this neck jig right here is actually just a mock-up. I'm not working on this guitar, but I'll just give you an idea. So basically, you jig up the guitar, and you need to adjust the truss rod while the strings are at full tension. And then you use a tensioning mechanism, which is right now not even engaged, to simulate string tension once you remove the strings. And then you secure the neck like this. And then once you're done, you use, again, the 9.5 radius leveling beam and correct the radius of the frets. So that's a big job. And also, it isn't a cheap job. One other option would be to do a Plek job on a Plek machine. But again, that isn't really cheap. But that's really the only way you are going to get the proper low action on a guitar that's supposed to have a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. Hey kids, check this out. It's past midnight, and this is early for me. But, I'm still editing. I'm not sure how long this is going to take. Oh, at this time? Guitar Quackery. Oh, shut up. Robocalls. I've been getting a lot of spam calls lately. I don't know if you're getting a lot of spam calls, but this brings me to our sponsor. What sponsor? I don't have a sponsor. Because Guitar Quackery is a consumer advocate channel. This means I work for you. So you could be the sponsor of this channel. So if you feel that I offer valuable content, feel free to sponsor the channel. You can, like I said, you can click the link downstairs that says buy me a coffee. There's also a super thanks button. And there's a link to buy Guitar Quackery merch. There's a Patreon link. And what else? Oh, membership links. So you can become a supporting member of this channel. There are 3 levels. I will be posting more kind of like pre-release content. So you can see the videos before they become public. And I am going to start posting them way, way ahead of time. So they will stay in pre-release format for 6 months or a year. So that you get, value for your generous contribution. Oh, and there's another thing. Check this out. Guitar Quackery on Instagram. So this is my new Instagram account. And what is it for? Well, first of all, I got to tell you about the other channel. What other channel? It's called Guitar Quackery Live, where you can catch me live. That means in real time as I work on guitars. And you can chat with me as I work on guitars. I also use that channel so that my customers can watch me work on their guitars in real time. That's pretty cool, right? So Guitar Quackery is really, it used to be a repair shop with a YouTube studio. Now it became a YouTube studio with a repair shop in it. So the thing is that with my live streams, you never know when they happen because they're not scheduled, right? Because I'm just at work. So if you subscribe to Guitar Quackery Live, that's the other channel, and hit the bell icon, you get notified. But as the live stream is already happening, so if you want to know ahead of time, just follow Guitar Quackery on Instagram, and you will get a notification ahead of time. I will also put news and announcements, post news and announcements on Instagram, by the way. Right now, I have only 54 followers. You could be the 55th one if you follow. Highly recommended. What else? I better finish editing this video. It's late. I don't want to stay up too late. So, friends, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.